Forgive me for mentioning something from popular culture, but you may remember Mr. Spock, who was from the planet Vulcan, who experienced no emotion. And everyone knows somebody like that. But that's not what a human being is. A human being has emotion. When it says that Chava saw that the Eitz Hadas was desirable, it isn't just that her desire was aroused. This was the introduction of Tava. This is where Tava was introduced. That she took for herself the capacity to experience desire, and she gratified that desire. It's like the capacity for desire and the fulfillment of that desire came simultaneously with the taking from the Eitz Hadas. She introduced desire, and from that point onward, the whole existence of human beings was transformed. Whereas human beings now are motivated by self-gratification instead of principle. And that was a consequence of the Chetz of Eitz Hadas. And the tikkun of that is to begin eating in a principled way. And it's easier said than done. Because most of us do not eat in a principled way. But most of us eat what we like. So Pesach, we have so many opportunities where we can eat things with the Shem Shemayim, with the Shem Mitzvah, where this is part of the process of tikkun, of the rectification of those sins. So Pesach is the birur ha'achilas. It's the tikkun, it's the rectification, it's the clarification of all our eatings.
It's interesting, I was learning halachas of Pesach, and the question of how long do you have to eat the kazayas of matzah, and the question was raised, at what point do you start timing? When you put it in your mouth or when you swallow it? It's actually when you swallow it. It's when it enters your neck.
Yeah. That's when the eating begins.
That's right.
Right. In other words, when you chew it in your mouth, that's just preparing it for the eating.
That's
the
right.
achila is the swallowing itself.
So the neck becomes the definition of eating.
But it comes out like this. And part of that principled eating is that what you allow yourself to eat is not motivated by desire, but it's motivated by principle. So that's what the whole idea of a chumrah on Pesach is. And you think about it. In other words, you have a food. It's really desirable. It looks tasty. It's geschmack. And all of a sudden you discover, but wait a minute, it was cooked in the wrong pot, and maybe something got mixed in, and maybe the hechsher is, I'm not going to eat it. Right? The conducting of oneself with these chumras really is the training in eating in a principled way as opposed to eating in a manner of desire. And that's like Pesach, this becomes especially important.
Isn't the prototype really the Kohanim who ate the karbanas? Not in the sense of fulfillment, but in the sense
that's right. It would be that way. But for us, we don't have a Beis Hamikdash, right? For the masses, it's really Pesach. This is what he says here. V'zeu achiluk. Excuse me. Therefore, all the chumras that they conduct themselves, even though they seem to be very, very far, it doesn't seem that the chumrah contributes anything to the observance of the mitzvah. Now he's going to point out a very interesting thing, that we know Pesach, everyone is strict. There's another mitzvah associated with eating where we find leniencies. There's a Mishnah which is Ma'arim and al Ma'aser Sheni. When it comes to Ma'aser Sheni, you can kind of go around the halacha. How so? The halacha is like this. If a person has Ma'aser Sheni and you want to redeem it, so the halacha is you have to add a chaymesh. If it's your own Ma'aser Sheni, you have to add an extra fifth. It says if it's not your Ma'aser Sheni, you redeem it for its face value. So it says in the Mishnah, you can give money to your children and say you redeem it, and this way you avoid paying the chaymesh. So it seems like this is the exact opposite of Pesach. I mean, would anyone use a leniency like that, like a trick like that, when it comes to halachas of Pesach? Of course not. So why is it when it comes to eating Meiser Sheni, we allow ourselves this leniency in Pesach not? So this is what he explains. V'zel achiluk. And this is the difference. Shav Meiser Sheni mefarish marim Meiser Sheni. But Meiser Sheni says explicitly you can make a trick of Meiser Sheni. Well, Pesach nachm yom kol kach. So what's the difference? He points out an amazing thing. Meiser is associated with wealth. Aser ta'aser. What do Chazal say? Aser b'shvil shetis asher. There's a premise that if you give Meiser, you become wealthy. So Meiser is a mitzvah associated with wealth. Hainu. That means shemitzvahs Meiser shein. We'll explain this. Hu l'man yivarechach. It's in order to receive God's blessing. Aser b'shvil shetis asher. And therefore, lavush mitzvah Hashem yizbarach bazeh. The lavush of this mitzvah, who gam came b'ashiras, also is an opulent, wealthy way. V'adin nosin, and it makes sense. She'asher einu medaktek kol kach. Rich people aren't so precise. Umavato od midilei. They're really generous. V'afilu aydei is a siba mechad oslo avla, and even if it happens that someone steps on your toes, einu medaktek imo. Rich people aren't so precise. And they justify the person. And that's why Chazal say you can make a trick on Meiser Sheni. Let's just read it and explain it. But on Pesach, the mitzvah is to limit yourself. Matzah is called is the poor bread. But and Chazal say, that's why the matzah is broken, because it's the way of a poor person to eat half a loaf. If so, levush kedushas mitzvah bozeh, the levush of this mitzvah is ledaktek after chutasayir, to medaktek down like the thickness of a hair, like a poor person is medaktek. We'll explain this. Even a small thing is considered very, very chashuv. Let me explain this. I'll give you a mashal. Like, I am not a rich person. I don't want to say I'm a poor person, but I'm not a rich person. My wife is poorer than I am. Because even though I don't have money, but I think like a rich person, my wife faces the reality. So I'll give you a mashal. So we're invited to a simcha. And last minute, something happens, my wife can't go. She will always call the person and say, listen, I'm sorry, I can't come. Really, you shouldn't go to the expense of having a place for me. The person could be the biggest zillionaire, right? But they're going to spend $20, $30, $50, for a place for me which I'm not even going to eat, right? So you shouldn't do that. Look, I don't want to hang my dirty laundry in public, but those types of things, I don't know if I would do. They're spending so much money. If I am there, they'll miss me. They'll miss me. But in other words, but an ani is medaktek. Small things are very, very important, and it could be that the aniyim even think that undoubtedly they're important to the ashirim too. In other words, money is money. A person has money, right? I remember one time when I lived in California many years ago, I used to give a shir Motzei Shabbos, and there's a group of couples. They asked me if I would give a shir Motzei Shabbos for them. This became the big thing. Saturday night, instead of going out, they'll go to a shir. So husbands, wives, so they asked me to give a shir. So here's like this, that I'll give the shir under one condition, that it could be in my own house. Because it was so hard to get a babysitter and this and that, this way, I'm home, they'll come. And they said, fine. But one time, I don't remember why, it was at the house of one of the people there. Now, in this group, there were some people that were fabulously wealthy, and there were some people that were of very, very modest means. And the shiur happened to be in the house of someone who wasn't poor, but he was a very modest person. But there were people that were fantastically wealthy. And they're having a conversation about some home repair that needed to be done, right? And the person who lived in the house says, they need to repair this thing, and it's, so the zillionaire says, I'll send you my guy. No problem, I'll do it. He'll sand everything down, he'll redo all the cabinet. And it didn't even dawn on him that this is the type of thing that this person would never consider doing. In other words, the Ashirim think that everyone thinks like them, and the Aniyim think that everyone thinks like them. Pesach is lechem oni. Now, this is a very serious question. The Torah says you eat lechem oni. It's a pasuk in Parshas Re'eh. What is the idea of the matzah should be lechem oni? After all said and done, if you remember last time we talked about this, we touched on this, that the Gemara is mashma that matzah is a sign of chayrus, a sign of the swiftness of liberation. The hispik b'tzeikim shlavasem al-hachmetz. They didn't have time to allow the dough to rise. So really, it symbolized the swiftness of the geula. That's what the Gemara says. Matzah tzarach haseba. When you eat the matzah, you have to recline because it symbolizes the chayrus. So what is the idea that it's lechem oni? So we mentioned the Ramban, the famous Ramban. The Ramban is so famous, we said last week, that everyone assumes that it's Pashut, as the Ramban says, but the Maral, in fact, asks in the Ramban, where in the world did he get this outlandish idea from? The Ramban says that there's a second aspect to matzah. The matzah also commemorates the very harsh conditions in which we lived in Mitzrayim. And the Ramban says, and the proof is this that we say in the Haggadah, Halach ma'anya diachalu avastan abarda Mitzrayim. And that interpretation is so accepted that we assume that there's no other pshat. And the Maral asks in the Ramban, where in the world did the Ramban invent this from? A new idea that matzah somehow is a commemoration of our enslavement? Where did he get that from? The Maral says that's not what it means, halach ma'anya. The Maral says poor bread simply means what we would say unenriched bread. You go to the store, right? There's enriched bread, Wonder Bread, right? There's enriched bread. They add minerals and vitamins. Right? If you want plain bread, so it's unenriched. Well, what does unenriched mean? Poor. Poor is unenriched. That's all poor bread means. Poor bread means that all it is flour and water. There's nothing else added. It's unenriched. And when it says halach ma'anid yachalu avasam abarda Mitzrayim, it doesn't mean they ate it as avadim. It refers to the matzah they ate with the carbon Pesach the night before the Yetzias Mitzrayim. That's all it means, says the Maral. It's not the bread of affliction. It's not the bread of slavery. This means it's the unenriched bread with which they ate the carbon Pesach the night before the Yetzias Mitzrayim. That's all it means.
How did you explain dividing the afikomen?
What?
The idea of dividing the afikomen is that the poor man saves.
Yeah, I don't know how he answers that. Right. It's a good question. I don't know. The doctor, Shalom Proust, I don't know how he understands that. But I'm just pointing out that the Ramban's pshat is a chidush, meaning there would be an alternative, but it's so pashut, it's so ungenumen, so accepted, that it's virtually a universally held idea. But it's a Ramban. But there's another pshat. And Sefer Chasidus, another pshat in the whole idea of lechem oni. The idea is like this: the difference between an oni and an ashir is that an ashir, a rich person, what he has is his. He's earned it, he's saved it, it's really his. An oni, everything he has, he is being given by someone else. He has nothing of his own. He has no assets, he has no money, he has no savings. He's living from other people's generosity. So that's lechem oni. That's how a Jew has to see himself Pesach. In other words, when a Jew savors his freedom, Pesach, he understands that this freedom was given to him as a gift from the Ribbono Shel Olam. We were undeserving of it. We did not really have the schus to redeem from Mitzrayim. It was HaKadosh Baruch who took us out, and we're like aniyim. We're given a gift. We're given a gift. And therefore the bread we eat is lechem oni. We see ourselves as being poor people, people that are undeserving, people that have nothing of their own. And therefore all the symbolism of matzah relates to poverty. Darkish only beprusa, that it's broken like a poor person. And that's the idea of lechem oni. Not so much to commemorate the previous enslavement, as we discussed last week, but the point of the fact that what we received that night of Pesach, the Yetzias Mitzrayim, really was something which was fundamentally undeserved. But we are fundamentally poor people. Yeah, question?
How does he compare the eating of matzah to Marim Matzah Sheni?
So,
there's another Isser in matzah, which is Balira. That is similar to the Marim, not the eating.
no, so we're in a second. So therefore, when we eat matzah, we eat as aniyim. So he says that the derech of an ani is to be medakte. Because for an ani, every little thing makes a difference. Everything is important. That's the derech of an ani. Now the Gemara talks about diktuke aniyus. The Gemara says there are three things that drive a person insane. And one of them is diktuke aniyus, right? The precision of poverty. The dikduk. It's not the poverty per se, right? It's the cheshbonos that the ani makes, right? Can I afford this? Can I buy this? What's going to happen tomorrow? Those cheshbonos drive the person crazy. That's diktuke aniyus. It's maver midaita, the Gemara says. And there's a truth to that. But if Pesach we are all aniyim, right, we understand that everything we have is undeserved. So when HaKadosh Baruch Hu gives us mitzvahs to do, right, it's not like, listen, God's a nice guy, I'm a nice guy. We can, we're pals. We can, if I cut a corner here, cut a corner there, we're fine. There's a diktuk mamesh. There's a precision, everything is exact, down to the last detail, down to the last crumb, the last molecule, because that is the way of anius, that is poverty. Says Ma'aser Sheni is something else. Ma'aser Sheni is really a mitzvah of Asher v'Shoshet Tesasher. Because Baruch Hu says, if you do the mitzvah of Ma'aser Sheni, I bestow upon you wealth. And now it's considered you've earned it. It's yours. So when we think of Ma'aser Sheni, we're all Gevirim. We're all Gevirim. Listen, me and HaKadosh Baruch Hu are tight. We're like this. Cut a corner here, cut a corner there. That's okay. So therefore, that's Marin Ma'aser Sheni.